Welcome back. Okay, so here we got an 84 Ranger. Pretty well rust free. It's got pretty good rockers. It does have a little bit back here and the very edge back in there. Originally a Colorado truck. 160 some thousand. There you go. You better look at it. It's in pretty decent shape. 4-wheel drive, 4-speed. Yeah, it's got a couple little problems that need to be addressed. But here's the biggest thing. Got a new engine in it. Or I should say rebuilt. Rebuilt local machine shop. I think they did a pretty good job. So far it seems to run good. Yeah, so new carburetor and new water pump. And then I've spray painted the exhaust, which I went and test drove it and it didn't seem like it burned off. Now it smelled a little bit, but it wasn't too bad. It's got that little Motorcraft carburetor on it. And it used to have EGR valve, but had to build a plate for it since we're emissions exempt here. Somebody put power steering on it. I don't know exactly what they were doing here, but looks like they've had to fabricate these brackets to kind of fit. I'm talking him into possibly going with the factory 2.3 brackets. I've just got to round them up. They're round United States eBay type stuff. So we've got a new radiator in it. It's just aluminum. I built some brackets for it in here and on this side. And then kind of cleaned it up a little bit. It was looking a little bit rough around the edges. I've got another thing too. It's got a snorkel that went down below the battery here, and this whole unit just kind of went down below there. And I think what we're gonna do is gonna maybe put a dryer, maybe one of those little dryer deals for the dryer, flexible hose. Then what I've been doing under here, been doing a little cleanup, a little bit of sanding. You can kind of see, just trying to mitigate the rust a little bit, surface rust. You know, I have a new engine when it's all nasty rusty, so I'm going to clean all this up. And then what I'm using, so I'm using this Rust-Oleum High Heat Ultra. It's a gloss black, which I think it looked nice. I think get enough on there, and if it does go to dripping oil or something, which normally they do anyway, it'll probably go ahead and wipe right off. And he wants to go in there and check these U-joints inside the wheel ends, do a wheel bearing repack and a few other things. So probably be painting all these items, you know, trying to make them look nice at least. Clean all this up underneath here a little bit more. I do have a sandblaster. I could probably try and put that in there. But if I put my flashlight, which there's a O-light, and use a little bit of this stuff. I think it glosses up okay. I'm actually almost out. The thing's probably got 10% left in there, so I've got some on order. The O-light out here. So I got a few things down here that'll probably need to be cleaned up. I'll get the pressure washer after some of it. Make it look nice, clean it up. Alright, now under here, there's transmission. You can say just a 4-speed. It needs a little bit of cleanup. And got new transmission oil in it, new transfer case fluid in it. I'm going to probably pull that front U-joint off of there and check the condition of that. I think there's a U-joint in here. We'll probably check it too. Yeah, it looks like that one's been replaced, so we're good there. And what else? Yeah, I'll probably go in here and maybe clean this up. There's a old clamp or something hanging out there. Get that out of the way. Yeah, just an old hose clamp. It's just stretched beyond its limits. Who's that? There she is. What are you doing, pretty girl? Come here. What you doing, Poppy? Oh, you good baby? What are you up to? Oh, come here. Oh, yeah. You just have to sit down for a minute, don't you? Yeah. You good baby girl. Oh. Alright. Not much else under here. Like I say, probably could use a good cleaning. I think a lot of that stuff is just baked on there for over the years. Might take a wire brush and kind of clean that up a little bit. And let's see. Oh yeah, we're gonna do that U-joint there. That's gonna be a little bit of a toughie, but it'll be done. I've got the puller that'll do these inside this deal in here, but I think they're a little tough to do. Now the F250, 350, they're not bad. I've got a Tiger tool that fits up in there that'll take that out, but I think it's a little bit hard to do with the Ranger. New starter. You wanted a new starter. Alright, so what you've got here, these manual hubs, you have to watch for it because there's an O-ring inside there you got to be careful with. And then these things usually pack it with rust. And the tool for these, a lot of people just use a regular old punch, but this actually is the tool that's called for. Now when I was growing up working for Ford, they actually told you to take a piece of round stock that would fit in here and to split it on the end like that, and I did, and that's what I used, because the idea is to squeeze that spring as you're pushing it. And then you just simply pound it through. pad thickness. I think we're good. You can see it's fairly decent yet. Looks like that's running pretty good. We'll need to be repacked. A lot of times I take these, this is just a Harbor Freight tool that I've modified, and a lot of times I'll just take this thing and put it right here, and I'll tap the end, which will get you back over here a ways. Hopefully you can kind of see. Just tap that. And once it has a little bit hanging down, you just pry it with your screwdriver. Just comes right out. Then you've got your regular flat washer, your Torrington bearing, and then the Torrington bearing face that rides on there. Some people lose those, so you got to be careful. And then you've got to wipe this down a little bit and get ready to put get your 4-point socket. Well, we've got some old dirty rags to wipe this down, and started turning it, and lo and behold, it's not even tight. That's going to have to change. Here's your lock ring. And here's your inner nut that's got the pin in it. You just want to wipe those down and inspect them real good. A lot of times you can look and see if somebody's been using a chisel on it. And there's your pin right there. It's sticking out. That has to cog into this washer right here, so you'd have to make sure that it's in there. Sometimes people will tighten these down so much they'll push that pin into the back of this hole here, and you have to actually take that and put it in the vise and pound that pin back out. But this one looks like it's acceptable. Now you got your bearings. Plain old wheel bearing repack, nothing new here. There's your seal. On this particular one, I'm going to yank this all apart in here, and we're going to look and see what kind of condition it's in. Make a note of how this is so that you can put it back straight up. Sometimes they'll come right off, sometimes they won't. If they won't, here's a little cheat. Do a rubber mallet. You can hit it, or you can lay the mallet here and hit it with a regular hammer like this. And then take it to the side. Use my mallet. And out she comes. Now you're going to be looking at this inner bearing here to see what the condition is. This one looks like it's still got plenty of grease inside of it, so I'll wipe it out real good and put a new chunk of grease in there. You want to look and see what this thing's doing, make sure that it didn't ingest any water in it. Looks like it's in pretty good shape. You're going to wipe that grease seal off, check it real good, and then you're going to have to move your U-joints up and down to see what they feel like. They've got to be smooth. Now if it gets in there and it feels like if it's kind of binding a little bit, then you've got what's called Brinelling, and that's a good time to actually change that wheel bearing out. He asked me to inspect it, and if it passes muster, then we'll leave it alone. It looks like this one's okay. It doesn't have any looseness in it. I don't see anything leaking out of it. Looks like the seals are good. So I think we're going to put that back in there. Be careful when you go back, you don't drag that clean surface. Try to make sure that you get that and we'll get some grease on this and go back together. Now the other side's a little bit trickier. Now if you want to do the other side, there's two U-joints in that side. There's one outer axle and then there's one on the inner axle. Inner axle's one I showed you. You might have to use a special tool. That's the one that's tricky. If I have to do that, I'll show you. If not, I'm going to ship this video off to you just to kind of give you the highlights of this truck, and we'll just kind of go from there. So anyway, there's your thumbs up. Thank you for watching, and stick around for the next one. Thank you much.